they're on.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our next Facebook Live segment. You've graduated, now what? Today's segment is really just going to be kind of addressing a lot of the new recent grads out there, high school, college, or if you're just on the market looking for a job due to a layoff from COVID-19. We hope that this information will be beneficial for you as well. You know, as recent college grads ourselves in the last several years, we just kind of came together and we're able to kind of get some tips on maybe some things that we experienced, you know, during our time looking for a new job right out of college, and we hope this information is going to be helpful for you. So we'll go ahead and quickly introduce ourselves for everybody.
Yeah. So my name is Aly Rojas. I have been with Metter for a year, actually, last month, and I am a contract recruiter for our division here, and I graduated from the University of Houston, Victoria, with a bachelor's in business administration.
My name is Chelsey Dungan. I work in the direct hire division here at Metter. I've been here for just over 2 years, and I graduated from the University of Texas, and my degree is in psychology.
Yeah, and my name is Raegan Meek. I am a senior executive sourcing specialist here at Metter. I am in the direct hire division as well. I've been here a little over 2.5 years. I went to Texas A&M University and got my degree in communication. So our first topic of the conversation today is really just ways to look for a job. Obviously, we're going to hit a lot of main topics under this, but we wanted to start out with job boards. Obviously, the easiest way these days that most people can kind of relate to would be using a job board to find a new position out there. You know, a lot of companies and staffing firms tend to use job boards to, you know, post jobs out there for candidates that are looking for new positions. There are hundreds of job boards out there these days, and however, we felt like there were a few that we wanted to kind of focus on and hone in to share with you that maybe we felt like are kind of the hottest job boards here recently, really in the last several months, especially with all the COVID-19 stuff going on. Those would be Indeed, LinkedIn, which is really probably the biggest social media platform here recently, and then Glassdoor is another one, and ZipRecruiter. But again, those are just to name a few. There are hundreds of those out there, and those are definitely just kind of the four we felt like were the hottest here lately.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great point, Raegan. In terms of using job boards, I feel like one of the biggest tips that we can give you guys would be, you know, parsing or putting your resume on that job board. You know, you want to make sure that it's clean and just easy to read. You don't want different fonts. You don't want too much taken away from your skills and expertise, right? I can tell you guys, and we actually talked about this yesterday, an average recruiter spends about 8 seconds on your resume looking at two major things, just your job title and your job tenure. You know, you want to make sure to impress these recruiters all over the world just with 8 seconds. I know that's a little bit tough, but I mean, it's something that just really makes you stand out. If you have, I would say 10 to 20 bullets under each job that you've held in previous positions, that would be, I would say, about the best. And make sure just to check your spelling errors. That's
very
one of the
important.
biggest things. You know, you don't want any grammar errors throughout that, so I would say it's funny.
Yeah, also too, something we talked about as well was keeping it the same font. Make sure your font is consistent throughout the resume. Very often we see resumes that come through where it starts out with Times New Roman and then it kind of shifts over to a different font, and so make sure it's really consistent all throughout. That was kind of the last thing I think we definitely should
I agree. And then obviously, in terms of looking for a job, we can't forget about staffing firms.
Yes.
That's another great way to help find a job. There are staffing firms, I swear there's like 100 in the Houston area. So work with, you know, as many as you can. You know, it doesn't hurt to, you know, keep all your options open. So, and if y'all didn't know how staffing firms work, the majority of them, it's completely free to you, as Metter Staffing is. So you basically just walk in, or right now, of course, just calling, telling us what you're looking for, and we will do our very best, you know, to assist you. So we have our different divisions here. So, you know, we're in the direct hire division, contract, and then we, of course, have the temp divisions as well. So anything that you're looking for, you know, you just come to us, and again, completely free of charge to you. We're just here to, you know, help you guys out and help finding a job as best we can.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Another way to look for a job too as well would be to just network. Really join if you're aware of any kind of alumni network out there, whether it's even a high school alumni group or a college or just any kind of group that you know of that really it's groups of people that come together to kind of network, just staying in the know of each other and the market, really what it's doing right now. Definitely try to network in those groups as well. Definitely another important.
To go off that point, people like to help people out when, like for us, for the University of Texas, we have like the Texas Exes, so people want to help you out, you know, and like A&M, like Aggies want to help Aggies, you know, it's just, it is how it is.
Yeah, so, very important. Get to know everybody that you can, definitely it's good to know people. So those are just kind of a few tips on ways to look for a job. Really, the next kind of main topic we really wanted to focus on today, because we really feel like it's a really important platform here lately, will be LinkedIn. If you don't know what LinkedIn is, what LinkedIn is it's basically a professional platform, social media platform, where you can make your profile. It basically, what it does is it gives you the opportunity to connect with there's millions of people on LinkedIn. I can't even tell you the amount of number of people, but really what it is, it's your resume on a profile. You want to make sure you have a professional photo. It is a professional business platform, and basically you want to make sure that when, you know, recruiters out there or HR individuals that work for companies that maybe are looking at your profile, it aligns with your resume. So basically, if you were to send your resume to a recruiter or an HR individual hiring for a position in a company, it needs to align with your profile. It's just kind of an online network for you to kind of just have your resume online at all times, and really anybody can see your profile at any time. Make sure that, again, have a professional photo. Definitely no selfies as your photo. We do see that very often, but make sure that you have a professional photo. Maybe get a friend to take a picture of you with a nice blouse, nice blouse with, you know, just a headshot with your hair and makeup done, and make sure it looks professional. Guys, if you have maybe just like a shirt like Ollie's wearing, or a suit and a tie, throw it on and take a professional photo from here up, and make sure you look professional, hair's done, you look cleanly shaven, and that's the kind of photo you definitely want to have out there for recruiters to be looking at.
Right. Right. I definitely, those are some great tips that Raegan just gave. Also, if you log into LinkedIn, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing on here. It's basically just like Facebook, but for professionals, right? So you make connections. That's what you're trying to make. Basically, there's going to be people on there that probably hold that title or position that you're wanting to hold, like maybe 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. Those are the individuals that you want to connect with on a daily basis. You know, you want to make sure that they know who you are. You know, you can kindly just send them a message saying, hey, you know, how did you get to the position where you're at right now? You know, what are some of the steps that you took? Do you have any advice for a young professional such as myself? I would say that that's one of the biggest things that you can do on LinkedIn. The more connections you have, the better off you're having. Maybe, you know, getting that entry-level job that you're seeking. It may not be in the firm or company that you're targeting, but it could be your start somewhere else. I would say that's one of the biggest things on there.
Network,
You should also be following the companies. It's also it's funny because LinkedIn is kind of like so many social medias combined. It's kind of like Twitter as well. You can follow the companies that you're wanting to target. You know, if you want to work for Dow, if you want to work for Shell or one of those big oil and gas companies, you know, make sure that you're following them and keep up to date to what they're doing in your community. They can be very involved in there.
Yeah, they also push jobs a lot on there as well. So that could be something, if you know you want to start out maybe with an entry-level position with those kinds of companies. If you follow along, it may post an entry-level engineer role or entry-level accountant. I mean, you just never know. So definitely follow along your dream company one day that you want to be a part of. It's definitely a good point to make too, Aly.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Definitely. And so another thing we did want to talk about was, of course, applying for jobs on LinkedIn. This does go across really all job boards, Indeed, you know, everything. But when you're looking at the jobs, and LinkedIn is a great place to start if you are trying to find a job. There's like a tab on there that you can go to, and you can search, you know, your location and the job title that you want. Tons of jobs will pull up. So when you're applying, just make sure that you're reading the entire job description, and don't get discouraged if you don't meet 100% of the requirements. a lot of times we say about 60% or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
To go ahead and apply, because you might have 3 years instead of 5 years. You might, every now and then, they will consider someone without a bachelor's degree, even if they're saying that it's a requirement. You know, just things like that. So don't feel discouraged, and don't, you know, not apply to all those jobs that you don't meet 100%. And also location-wise, because I know we see this a lot, just make sure you're reading where the location is.
Yes.
It might be posted as Houston, but when you read the actual job description, it might be in Baytown, the Woodlands, Jersey Village area, Galleria. A lot of people don't want to drive to the Galleria, especially from Pasadena, where we are.
Yeah, that's
So, just make sure that, you know, you're reading everything, and set kind of like a radius for yourself. If you
Yeah.
live in League City and you know that you cannot drive to Jersey Village, well then, you know, don't apply to those types of jobs. So just kind of set, you know, how long realistically are you willing to drive for a position?
So true.
And just kind of set those parameters, beforehand, before you start applying.
Yes, that is so, so true. We had that happen the other day.
Yeah.
I think you called a candidate and asked where the job was, and
Yeah.
she said you told her it was in Galleria, and she was like, oh, that's too far. You know, it just
Yeah, like
happens.
right off
but
the bat,
It
so.
happens a lot, but definitely that's super, super important there. Another point I wanted to talk about on LinkedIn would be professional with really what you share. Again, this is although it is a professional business platform, it is considered social media as well. You know, see LinkedIn as a social media platform. Employers will check, you know, your social media accounts and make sure it's clean and, you know, doesn't have anything inappropriate on it. You know, your Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, but LinkedIn also is considered a social media platform, and, you know, sometimes you may not realize that it's maybe a little inappropriate or whatever be the case, but just be sure to careful with what you share. A lot of times the business related is going to be trends going on, or what the market's kind of telling you, or you see the Dows or the Shells or Mindels, you know, they're sharing really cool information about the oil and gas market and things like that. So those would definitely be something, if you're interested in those things, definitely feel free to share things like that, but just be careful with what you do share and what you post on LinkedIn. Like I said, if you really want to be active on LinkedIn, just be sure to share only business-related content, you know, to your page.
Yeah. And then the last point that we wanted to touch on, due to everything that's going on, you know, with the pandemic, there are free things to develop yourself as a professional.
Yeah.
So the other day, I ran into a tutorial on how to do pivot tables. So if you're an accountant and you don't have that much experience with pivot tables or macros or graphs or anything like that, most of the time when our clients or anyone comes to us seeking to find a candidate, one of the first things that they ask for accountants is, do they know pivot tables?
Yeah.
Do they know
Yeah.
macros? You know, Excel is free on LinkedIn due to everything that's going on. There's plenty of tutorials for you to grow and develop as a professional on things that you might not know that you need for your next job. So make sure that you take advantage. Usually those courses would be probably like $100, maybe even more. Due to everything that's going on, it's free. So make sure you take advantage, you know, while you can. So
Absolutely.
And last but definitely not least, we wanted to touch a little bit on expectations, right? If you're a newly grad or if you're a mom and you want to take all this information back to your son because they didn't want to get on, that's totally fine.
This is important.
Yeah, this is very important. Just make sure they know the expectations. You know, we do realize that probably 9 out of 10 individuals will not be earning a six-figure income right as soon as they finish whatever degree they just did. You know, it's just not a realistic expectation.
Right.
We need to be sure that you guys are looking up your entry-level salary for what you want to be doing. You know, I want to say that Glassdoor is probably one of the best platforms to go back and look at, you know, what should I be making if I have 0 to 2 years of experience, and guide yourself through that. That way, you know, hey, this is what I could potentially be making in my first job. Also, it can help you guys whenever you're doing an interview, if it comes to that negotiation type of part of the process, you know what the market is telling you.
Kind of in the know.
That's actually a great point, because a lot of times they'll ask you, well, at some point, they'll have to ask you what your salary requirements are in an interview, and if you've never worked before, or even if you have, and this is a new job, or something that you don't have experience in, you don't wanna sell yourself short, and you don't wanna be clueless and be like, I don't know, what do y'all think?
Yeah, what do you think?
You know, so to know
Yeah.
beforehand and go on like Glassdoor or something along those lines and
Yeah.
figuring out, then you have a number to share and, you know, not selling yourself short.
Absolutely,
Right.
Definitely really good point there. I remember that happened to me as well when I was interviewing. So another point I wanted to make in terms of expectations would be, you know, be realistic with really what your skills are. I know Aly touched on some of that just a second ago, but, you know, for example, if a client is asking, you know, on the job posting, it says we need an expert in Excel, and, you know, you used Excel maybe one semester in college, you know, you might not quite be the expert, but although you do have, you know, the experience using Excel, just, you know, be realistic with really what your skills are. And just be realistic with really what you can and can't do. I mean, some employers out there are willing to train, and, you know, once the candidate gets kind of in the role and gets going, there's gonna be a training period. However, you know, majority of the time, if it's not an entry-level role, they need somebody that has done this role, you know, very similarly, and knows Excel and knows exactly kind of what they need, for the skill set to really kind of just dive into the role and, you know, hit the ground running. So, just be realistic with really what your skills are, and, you know, I think it's just really important that you know that going into an interview, or really just when you're looking for jobs. Don't, you know, again, don't sell yourself short, but again, just be realistic with really what you can and can't do with your skills.
Exactly,
Right.
and that's also where you can take advantage, like you said, of those assessments that LinkedIn's offering for free right now.
Yeah.
If a client or if a company is requiring, you know, you to know a certain thing in Excel, then maybe go and brush up and take some tests so that, you know, you're more confident going into an interview.
And I think we've been using Excel because we're so used to dealing with accountants and different things like that.
Yeah.
But there's tutorials for if you're in project management, if you're looking to be a lab technician, if you're looking to be an engineer, there's tons of stuff out there.
Yeah.
And then one of the last points on here is what skills am I gaining from this actual role that I'll be in, right? So this will be your entry-level role. What skills can I gain to either further develop myself within the company or to move on to your next role? Whatever your plan might be, just make sure that you are kind of realizing, you know, I didn't have this before going to this company, what will I have after I leave this company or after stepping into this role? I think that's one of the...
What skills did you learn there that you can take with you to
Right.
the next position to help you be successful long down the road?
Yeah. And I mean, if you are a recent college graduate or a high school graduate or anyone that's on the job market, just, you know, you have to start somewhere, so kind of think long-term, good companies, you know, if there's a company that you've been following on LinkedIn and you're seeing what they're doing and, you know, maybe you know someone that works there, whatever it might be, try to get your foot in the door, whatever way you can. It's all about the long term and, you know, and growth there, and so kind of think in terms of that also when you're looking and applying.
For sure. Just so many great tips. I think we could go on and on and on. But I think we hope that was really helpful and beneficial for all of those that are watching. Again, as recent college grads in the last several years, we just wanted to come together and try to figure out what we would have liked to have known maybe before entering the real world and kind of going into trying to find a job. I know for me, I graduated and moved home from school, took some time off, and really just decided to hit the market, and I have clueless, didn't know what a staffing firm was, so, now looking back, I wish I would have known, so hopefully this was beneficial for you, and I know they kind of felt the same way. Hopefully this was all just good information for all of you that are watching, but I think that's all we have for today.
Do you guys have any questions out there?
Is there any questions
that we can answer?
Were there any questions for us?
If you have,
put them in the comments. We have somebody standing by that can read us the questions, and
and we're happy to help with any questions. If you don't know where to start, if you're still confused, you know, just leave your questions in the comments.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
And lastly, I wanted to mention, again, thank you for tuning in. Like Aly said, next week, come back, same place, same time, same day, next Thursday, 11 a.m. I don't know the date, but I will, I wish I had it on top of my head. The topic for next week is going to be selling and cultivating relationships in the COVID-19 environment. So for all you salespeople out there, tune in. We have some great tips to share. And again, thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed it.